Okay, welcome back to another episode of Reliving Old Reviews is a Useless Tool of Confusion. This is the third episode, and we're still going to talk about Kiss. I've got Kiss on the mind here. So I've got a review by Gordon Fletcher. Of course, this show, just to explain again, we're going to look at vintage reviews of classic albums that, you know, were reviews from the period, from the era, and see how they got it, how they could describe this band, whether they got it right, whether there's some prescient things they got super right or wrong. We've got a Rolling Stone review from what is this, July 17th, 1975, of Dressed to Kill by Gordon Fletcher. Gordon says, Kiss does not play music. It makes very high volume noise. So this is an exaggeration. This album is very polite, very politely recorded. It's not very high volume anything. It's less wild than the first two. So Gordon's kind of like, you know, he's getting the genre right, but he's getting kind of like a little exaggerated here. If rock and roll intrigues you, though, you'd best be advised that for all the simplicity, overstatement, and repetition within its records, Kiss does make fantastically successful rock. It's not successful as a band yet, but he's saying, you know, this is pretty good version of rock here. Driven by Gene Simmons' remarkably inventive bass lines. I totally agree. You can hear the bass lines on here, and they are really cool. And the cacophonous poundings of drummer Peter Criss, Kiss makes Chuck Berry chords and basic rock progressions come alive with energetic urgency. Obviously, Peter Criss is very well behaved and tight and clean and neat on here. There's no cacophonous pounding of anything on this album from Peter Criss, so that's a little weird. Chuck Berry chords, you know, Kiss is a little bit derived of that, but there's not particularly a lot of Chuck Berry on here. But you know, back in the old days, like we've done with this theme, is it's hard to find what to compare to, right? Simple question mark, yes. Repetitive, yes, sir, exclamation mark. But like the Stooges, Kiss manages to avoid monotony. So, of course, they got to bring up the Stooges. What else can you compare to this early on? You see this quite often with these reviews. You know, with this episode, we actually have a bonus Dressed to Kill review. Generally, I think with these episodes, I'm going to be doing one review per. But I've got another review of Kiss Dressed to Kill, and this is from UK Disc. So this is from the UK, 1975 Dressed to Kill. Let's see what this one has to say. This is by someone named Ed, or it's just ED. I'm not sure who wrote this, but anyways, here we go. This album comes as something of a disappointment after the promise shown in the two earlier albums made by the band. So this writer already knows the first two. Those albums seem to have something that this one hasn't: conviction. Apart from a few tracks, Dressed to Kill is only mediocre and certainly won't do anything to set Kiss aside from the host of other heavy metal bands. So that's interesting. In 1975, already a bona fide mention of the term heavy metal. So that's cool. So heavy metal is already being used as a term. Kind of is getting this right. This album was a little bit of a disappointment. It was a little bit of the band's point of entry, or the band's bluish occult mirrors. And this writer is sensing that that this album's a little bit vanilla, maybe compared to the first two that had kind of a wildness to them, a wildness in the recording. This is a very safely, nicely recorded album. Let's see what else they say here. The dynamic, sizzling guitar solos are still there in some force, but they fail to make the penetration of earlier efforts. On the whole, the material isn't anywhere near as strong as before. Possible exceptions are Anything for My Baby, Rock and Roll All Night, and She. Of course, we know Anything for My Baby never turned out to be much of anything. Rock and Roll All Night is one of their biggest hits. So recognizing that is good. And She. The latter, in fact, is probably the best track on the whole album, with all the characteristics that set Kiss apart from the masses. Strong, riffy stuff, well arranged, and putting the listener on tiptoes right away. Rock and Roll All Night is the single from the album and probably would have been a hit if Gary Glitter had recorded it. Yeah, we know Gary Glitter's been a lot of trouble in recent years. But funny, referring to Gary Glitter because, Kiss is coming on the heels of the whole UK glam thing. So glam is still on their mind right over there. It has that infectious chorus line backed up with a pacey body, I think is what it said. Otherwise, Kiss do nothing to reinforce earlier predictions. Interested parties are advised to dive into the band's past to get a true picture of what they are about. That's kind of a neat prescient thing, because the band's past, the Kiss album and Hotter Than Hell, would kind of come to life on Kiss Alive. They are closer to Kiss Alive than this album. And this is more like Kiss's Steely Dan album of the first three, right? So there you go. A bonus review on this episode of Reliving Old Reviews is a Useless Tool of Confusion. Go to the Facebook page. Let me know if you think these reviewers more or less got it right on Kiss Dress to Kill.